Hello and welcome to another fun-filled nonsense retrospective. I'm your host as always, Rick. Joining me equally as always is Devon.
Hello.
Now today we're doing one in hand. This will be out of order. This won't be what was suggested on, well, if you listen to the audio extra, the things that we planned for this week. One of us is ill. Let's go back to a tier list. Today we're talking about Mass Effect and are the companions therein. But before we get too far into it, let's go with our good old time-honored opening tradition of the nonsense asinine hypotheticals. And do you have one for me today?
Yes, I do. It's a bit of a play on something we've done before, but oh well, who cares? Rick, are you ready?
Let's go.
Alrighty. You get to make one miniature, as in think Warhammer, etc., that sort of scale, that you can build yourself and paint yourself to make look cool and fancy. From the Mass Effect universe, what do you pick and why? He's gonna say the Normandy.
Specifically the SR1 Normandy. I really like how cute and small it is compared to the SR2.
Sure.
And having different design aspects to just what humans would design. Like that was like a big part of it was they made it small. They put the bridge in the middle because that's where Turians put it. And just in general, I think it's a cool ship. Yes, the SR2 Normandy takes a lot of design aspects from it, but the SR1 is small enough to enter orbit. So yeah, I'm going with SR1 Normandy. How about you? What are you picking?
I would take, okay, so you know the Warhammer Fantasy Scale Giant?
Yep.
So it's big enough to get some real good details on there, but not so big that it's not a miniature anymore, you know?
Yeah, so it's smaller than a doll, but bigger than a Primarch.
Yeah, okay. I probably wouldn't have used that terminology, but it's good enough. I'd make that scale a figure of Erdnot Rex.
Sure. Yeah, he's a very good creature to paint.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
Apologies for calling him creature, but yeah, he's got all of the hallmarks of alien race. I think Turians and Krogans are basically peak alien in this game.
Like, all three of the races they came up with, the core races are pretty decent. Like, okay, Asari are just there as the sex bait, but every fucking sci-fi story has that.
Yeah, and then Quarians are just helmet people, and then you got your Solarians who are their heads look a bit like cutlery, but let's. But yes, my one for you is there is going to be a new Mass Effect game coming out. What squadmate archetype would you like to see that there hasn't been already?
Explain.
Well, like, for instance, a combination of race, class, and gender.
Oh, I don't give a fuck. That's the problem, Rick.
Sure.
That's such superficial detail.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, like, we got the female Turian in Andromeda, and that was something we've basically not seen before. Like, yeah, there was one in one of the DLCs, but until then, we'd not seen one at all.
All right, fine. A non-binary Elcor Berserker. There, your turn.
Sure. Well, we've not seen many female Krogans at all. I'd like to see one that was in the playable core cast. Probably one who's sterile and, isn't just required for the repopulation effort. And I'd probably make her a complete total biotic rather than just being a soldier. Like Rex was was essentially a vanguard back in the day, but like go all in on that and make her a complete biotic.
Sure.
But yeah, we're going to get straight into our tier list. The tier list goes from S to D, and it's going to be a combination of how much we like the character, their story, and how effective they are in combat. So we're going to start with Thane Krios.
This is going to be a difficult tier list because they haven't included anyone in... Okay, there's one person who's going in D, and I can already see them. But apart from that one person, this is going to be a very top-heavy tier list, I feel.
Yeah, so Thane felt like a bit of... He wasn't a hollow character, but he felt like a poor man's Garrus in a game where you had Garrus.
Explain.
In that he's like the skills assassin sniper archetype, when Garrus already has been doing that for quite some time. Even Legion does that.
I suppose, but when Thane's kit is more geared towards his biotic bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah, but not by much. He's still essentially the same class as what like Caden would have been, like the Sentinel essentially.
Is he?
But he's like a Mass Effect. He's like a Mass Effect 1 Sentinel, isn't he?
I don't think so. I think he's more of an adept.
Okay.
It's been a minute since I played, and I've got to be honest with you, I never put Thane in my squad because, of course, I didn't. I still like the guy.
Yeah, I like the guy as a character, and I always would recruit him. Like, you don't skimp out on recruiting any of these, basically.
If you don't recruit someone in Mass Effect 2, it really does technically hamper your ability to get the good ending.
We were talking about renaming the tiers, and one of my suggestions was put D tier as recruited for completion only. And technically I'd put Thane there, but I also go to great lengths to try and make it so that he survives to Mass Effect 3, so he gets to go out like a champ.
Yeah, I'm putting Thane in A, because while I never had him in my squad, his story was interesting, like throughout. His story in 3 was very compelling. It's a shame they decided that we need to suddenly make a badass villain, so therefore he's going to get taken up by Kai Leng, which makes no fucking sense, but whatever.
Yeah, I feels it. Like,
oh my god, fuck Kai Leng. Yeah. What a shoehorn shit villain for an otherwise decent franchise.
I'm going to break into Anderson's apartment and eat his cereal. Oh, man.
Okay, the Super Best Friend subreddit has a meme, Rick, where they'll spoiler something and make it look like it's going to be titties, and you open it up, and it just goes, oh good, you opened my message, and it's the fucking Kai Leng fucking message from when he's talking about Asari Commandos, and it's just like, I'm fucking sick of this, and yet I laugh every time.
Yeah, I'd probably put Thane mid-tier B, but you're in control. You can put him in A if you like.
I mean, we're both making tier lists, so
sure. Yeah, Thane's going in B for me. Garrus, easy S.
It really is. It's really stupid to even have a debate on this. Like, the very last thing, one of the major badass lines you get with him in 3 is, "There's no shepherd without Vicarian, and there's nothing more true."
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you get to essentially shape his outlook throughout the 3 games to a degree, like more so in 1 than anything else, but it feels like his effect on his Paragon and Renegade score is actually more effective than your own, because you're always in control of what Shepard does.
Yeah.
Whereas with Garrus, like, influencing him to become more of a cowboy cop or to be more of, well, literally a paragon of Turian culture is what changes, like, certain bits of dialogue that he does. He still is your bro, but I think he's possibly the most dynamic character in the entire series.
Well, it also doesn't help that each game has a very different definition of Paragon and Renegade, because, as you rightly put it, in 1, it's Paragon or Renegade. Renegade is in Renegade Cop, in that I will do things that skirt the rules, but I'm ultimately still a good guy. In 2, it changes quite a bit, in that Renegade options tend to lean towards I'm a bit of a bastard. And in 3, the Renegade options are I am happy enough to genocide a race if it means we win.
Yeah.
Which is a big fucking jump.
Renegade in 3 is the Sith way of playing, but pointed at enemies. But yeah, like Garrus, when I played my Femshep, he was my my romance in 2 and 3. The only reason he wasn't in 1 is because BioWare didn't think people would be horny enough for Best Boy.
I mean, it took them fucking 3 games to even think about including female Taurians.
Yeah. Erdnot Grunt.
A, he is, baby.
Yeah, I think solid A is a very good place for him. He's a great insight into Krogan culture, kind of from the outside looking in, because he's also having to learn it from scratch to a degree.
Well, sort of.
Yes, he's got all the information.
I was going to say, it's all pre-programmed. I wouldn't say he has to learn jack shit.
Yeah, he's got the information, he just doesn't have any context.
Sure. He's also voiced by Blum, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, it gets big points, because we love that dude.
We do love Steve Blum. And before that, all I knew him from was like Leron in Gurren Lagann and Jamie in Megas XLR, neither of which are either anywhere near as deep as this. This is like pure gravel.
Well, hold on one second. Wouldn't he have voiced Ogryn before, Grunt?
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah, my bad.
Ogryn's pretty fucking
Ogryn
deep.
as well. Yeah, Ogryn's pretty deep. Ogryn is pretty deep. Yeah. Dr. Tassoni.
Okay. This is going to be 1, controversial, but 2, also not amongst certain people. I'm putting her straight to C.
All right.
I like Liara, and honestly, once she becomes a Shadow Broker, she's a lot more tolerable. That being said, the reason why I'm ranking her so low is because she is quite clearly BioWare's pet character.
Oh, yes.
And she is just rubbed in your nose.
I prefer her in 2 when she's basically kept out of reach for most of the game until the DLC, because it feels like a reward to get her back at that point rather than just an expectation, you know? I think that's the correct way to use someone who is essentially a creator's pet. You use them as a reward, not as oh hey, look at me, look at how awesome I am. Here's the option to use me in your squad. If you don't pick me, you're an idiot.
Okay, Okay.
So I'm putting her in A tier because I think her character arc is pretty compelling.
I
think she's got...
Liara didn't do anything wrong. BioWare did her dirty for me.
Sure. So yeah, A tier from me. Next one is Jack.
Yes. She is my bae. Do people still say that nowadays?
Even if they don't, they know what it means. I'm also putting her in A, mainly because her story arc is good. She wasn't ever my waifu, so that's why she doesn't get an S tier from me. Also, I basically didn't use her as a biotic because I already had, well, not already, but like Samara was an option.
Oh yes. We'll have words about Samara when we get to her. Don't you worry.
Yeah. So my main was normally a Vanguard, and my I guess my second file, my infiltrator would have used Jack. But yes, then we get on to Jacob.
Okay, I have fucking words. Straight to D, straight to hell, fuck off. Jacob didn't really affect me. In fact, Jacob was a real nothing character. He was just sort of there. I kind of got a spike of respect for him during his loyalty mission in 2. But I feel... I don't think any fan base got dicked over more than the Jacob fans. Specifically the people who romanced him.
Yeah, because you shall find him in 3 and he's had a fucking kid with someone else. Oh, man. Oh.
They couldn't have coded in something different for the few people. I don't think he was a popular romance choice, but people did do it. And people were pissed at the time. I know it's very easy to gloss it under the rug, but the only reason I heard about it is because the people who romanced him were pissed and very loud about it online.
Yes, they were pissed, and quite rightly so. Yeah, he's going straight to D from me. Let's be honest. If it weren't for the fact that you had to use him for the first recruitment mission for the dossiers, you would have left him on the on the tutorial station, wouldn't you?
He is a very boring character. Every single game has this character who is just we need someone to fill this role until they get someone cool, and that means the character that fulfills that role until then is kind of bland and boring.
And usually they die, like Myri.
Well, sure, I get you, but yeah, I don't know what it is with Jacob. It's just, I think he's got a bit of the what's the name of that character from Star Wars that people like to compare BioWare people to? It's from KOTOR.
Jolie?
No, I don't think so. It's a dude. It's the first dude you meet in the game that joins your party.
Oh,
Carth, there you go. I think he's got the Carth problem of, even though he works for Cerberus, he's just too straight-laced and boring.
Speaking of Carth, he's basically the same character as Caden, except Caden is a lot nicer. He's even the same voice actor and everything.
Don't you worry, we'll have words about Caden.
He's straight to D for me. Jimmy Vega.
I'm going to give him a C, and it's not his fault, bless him, but it's Jacob again, except he hasn't got any of the negative factors that Jacob affects. Because I like James Vega.
Yeah.
And the banter he has with Cortez is great.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that he, shares a hangar with Steve Cortez is what makes Jimmy Vega C tier and not D tier.
Also, I took him on that mission, the first one, before you meet Recruit Garrus. And if you leave him behind to do the tech shit, his thing is, are you sure? Because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And you go, yes, I'm sure. And then if you look back, he's just kicking the console and it works.
Yep. Yeah, it works because it has to, but it's so funny.
I love you, Jimmy Vega, but unfortunately you got stiff competition.
Yes, Mass Effect 3 was they condensed what was good about the good characters into fewer characters. Yeah. And he ended up coming off the worst out of the lot because he was not returning character. So yeah, he's unfortunate. Javik
is interesting. I'm going to put him in B because I like the concept. It's very interesting. But I don't know, man. He's just an arsehole.
Yeah, so similar reasoning. Solid B. He doesn't paint a very good picture of his culture, but that's kind of what's to be expected from being basically a living relic.
Yeah.
And even the best ending of his arc is basically, I'm going to go somewhere and go kill myself after all this is over because there's nothing left for me in the universe.
It's one of those where the insights he gives are fascinating. Liara doesn't like him because he's a warrior, so he doesn't know much art or culture stuff because he was born late in the Prothean?
Yeah, in the Prothean Reaper War.
Yeah, so everybody was just a soldier. They didn't have time for culture and shit, and he was one of the lucky few who got preserved. And I get it, he's an arsehole for a reason, and there's nothing wrong with that. Arseholes can be interesting characters, but his story goes nowhere.
I do like how in the files his name is just Prothe the Prothean.
Wow. Yeah. But that being said, this is kind of
name until like later on. Yeah.
This is kind of something you should expect from a DLC character, because we'll talk about another couple a bit later.
Yeah. And yeah, he was the DLC character for Dark Souls, not for Dark Souls 3. Man, imagine Javik in Dark Souls 3. He wouldn't change the game that much at all.
No, he wouldn't, because he'd be a dirty fucking Hex build.
Caden Alenko.
I'm going to put him in C because, okay, cards on the table. I didn't play Mass Effect 1. I played on the PlayStation. I had to do the shitty little comic. Okay, the comic was fine as a comic, but you know what I mean. He is a rather bland character, and one of the things I don't like people doing in anything is retroactively going, we don't have enough of the gays in the game, so this character is now the gay. Granted, he's bisexual, but you get the point I'm making.
Yeah, and the annoying thing was that he recorded the lines for male Shep romance even in Mass Effect 1, and they just didn't put it in.
That's some bullshit. Fuck you, BioWare, you cowards.
Yep. I'm putting him in B. I like him as a character more than I like Ashley.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to say this about every time you mention a character down the line. We have words about Ashley.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. He's basically a lot of things that people moaned about with Carth Onasi. He is essentially fixed for Caden. He's just a nice guy to a fault, which some people would say is a downside. Like we kind of said, it was a downside for Jacob Taylor. But for Caden, it's not that big of a deal because he's already part of your squad, essentially.
Yeah, and we've also got to bear in mind, there's a 50-50 chance that he doesn't make it out of Mass Effect 1.
Yeah. And it's entirely up to you. I kept him alive because I really didn't like Ash, and then I had to go and make a save file where we had Ash just so I could experience Ash, because I didn't know that she was going to come back as a playable character in 3 until 3 came out.
Well, Rick, here's a fun little story, which I might have told on the Mass Effect podcast when we did that, but oh well. Where when I initially got Mass Effect 2, I bought it from CEX for about a tenner, so it wasn't cheap, but it was cheap enough that the game had been out for a while. But it didn't come with the little code that gave you the comic for free, and I was at a period of my life where I was like, I'm not buying DLC, fuck off.
Yep.
So for my first free playthroughs of Mass Effect 3, I didn't have the little comic, which means all the bad things, like, why would you have Rex die be the default selection?
I know, right?
Anyway.
I mean, okay, you gotta go out of your way to make him live, but you don't have to go that far out of your way.
Like, for real, man. But also, the comic book is just like, you put him down yourself because you make a decision that he's angry about, which is fucking dumb, because that's the lazy route. Anyway, I digress. Back when you originally played the game, if you didn't have the comic, the survivor of, is it Vermeer?
Yeah, Vermeer survivor, yeah.
Yeah, it was dictated entirely by your gender, which means if you were Mel Shep, you were stuck with Ashley.
Yep. Because it's basically, this squad member, the Vermeer survivor, is essentially your only romance option that's not Liara.
Yep.
And
even though Tali is right there.
Yeah, Tali's right there. Tali and Garrus are right there. Kasumi.
I'm going to put Kasumi in B. She suffers the problem of Javik in that she's a fun character, don't get me wrong, and I really did enjoy her DLC mission because half of it was just experience some bullshit fucking high life society dark auction bullshit.
Yeah, like you get a D&D one shot with a loyalty pip at the end.
Exactly, man. Also, the trove of treasures after the first fight is really fun. There's a Dragon Age ogre in there, which is just like, wow, who the fuck fights these things? It's like you in another reality.
Yep.
But yeah, Kasumi's great. I love her. A lot of her dialogue is fun. She is a lot more fun in 3, where she's only there for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and like she gets quote unquote killed, and then she stealths out when she gets killed, and then she just wanders off. And then pops back at the end and says, yeah, you didn't really think I died, did you?
Well, it's better than that, because if I recall correctly, if you provided you had her loyalty from 2, which you're going to loyalty everyone if you know what you're doing, as soon as she is quote-unquote killed, as soon as the investigator guy walks out, Shepard just goes, you can come out now, and Kasumi's like, how did you know? And it's like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I rate Kasumi rather highly in that she was my tech specialist until I got Tali. So she essentially had a perma squad position until I unlocked Tali about halfway through the game in Mass Effect 2.
It's interesting that you say that, because I selected her as my tech expert during the suicide mission, because that's the only reason we recruited her, and she's not good enough to pass that check.
Yeah.
She gets shot in the face, and I was like, oh, I'm reloading this.
Yeah, I sent Legion because they have to go in like Steam events, and Legion doesn't care about Steam events.
Okay, Legion was also my first pick. I did Kasumi on a later run because I thought, again, and also she's a DLC character, so why the fuck is she not good at the thing?
Yep.
Yeah, I sent Legion
it's
quite wrongly the first time, because my logic was, he's a machine, who cares if he dies? And obviously I've had subsequent runs and learnt a lot more about Legion since then, and boy do I feel like a dickhead in retrospect.
Yeah. I mean, the choice is correct, just the reasoning is not.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Legion, I'm putting him straight into S tier.
Interesting. I'm going to put him in A, because I love Legion. He's great. He's fun. His his good ending in 3 made me the big sad.
Yeah.
But,
similar to Thane, he's got a very compelling full story.
Yeah.
And like, I'm addicted to his voice. It's great.
Well, I've never done it, and I'm not going to, because I don't want to. I never wanted to risk fucking up the safety of the crew. But if you somehow, oh wait, actually no, I think you have to fuck up the recruitment order. Either way, if you recruit Legion before Tali, and you take Legion on the Tali recruitment mission, yes, the recruitment mission, he gets 2 great lines of dialogue, because the first one is when you meet up with Tali, Tali immediately starts shooting at him, and he just crouches behind a wall and goes, "Help, Shepard Commander, under attack," and it's so adorable because his eyes doing that looks legitimately panicked.
Yep.
and
they modified the standard Geth to give that those flaps around his eyes more emotion.
It was a good decision.
It really shows. Like, the animation on his not face is just, it's Wall-E levels of characterization. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And the second piece of little bonus fun is when you get to Carl Rieger. Carl Rieger's like, "Shepard," and he does the fucking stage whisper. "I don't know if you know this, but there is a Geth right behind you." And Shepard goes, "No, he's with me." And Carl Ruger just drops it immediately and goes, "You know, that don't sit right with me, but I've got bigger issues right now, because there's a Colossus over there."
Yep.
But yeah, it just some fun. There's a lot of fun to be had with him. It's a shame you get him so late in 2.
Because there's even, if you hack your save file and just like put him into your party, they've even got like lines for him in Garrus's recruitment mission, which is impossible.
Yeah, of course.
Like, they've got lines for every character in every recruitment mission, even if they wouldn't be able to be in that mission from the final game, you know?
Yeah, so obviously at some point they were thinking of having it literally be like pick and choose whenever. But oh well, it's not what we got, and there's no point in moaning about it now. The game's like 10 years old,
and it's a masterpiece. Even with things that got cut, it's still a masterpiece. Ashley Williams.
D.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have the experience of her with Mass Effect 1, but in 2, she's such an insufferable dickhead, and in 3, she doesn't even remotely try to be, I don't know, amicable to you when you're trying to work with her, and it's such bollocks.
Yeah, it feels like Caden is a better fit for the second Spectre than Ashley is, by quite a margin. Like, her storyline is, okay, I'm the youngest military brat from a entire family of military brats, but my grandfather handed an entire moon to the Turians.
See, I didn't even know that detail. All I know is she's a dickhead.
Yeah, like her entire family is essentially stigmatized within the military for what her grandfather did. So they all have to work twice as hard for half the recognition, and it still doesn't excuse how much of a racist she is, because she still hates Turians, because of course she does. Her grandfather fought in the war against the Turians, but it feels like she hates all aliens for like very little reason. And then she has to share a hangar with Rex, and then they don't even talk.
Well then.
Yeah. She's not a fun character. There's a couple of things that she does that are fun. Like if you're a renegade, she gets on really well with you, because she also likes that you have a no bullshit approach to getting things done the human way.
Yeah, that's not gross.
Yeah. Of all the characters to join Cerberus, she seems like the one. Like, she wouldn't look at a place with a MAGA hat on.
It's one of those, as well, again, going back to the Cerberus thing, it really frustrates me that you just said that she appreciates the Renegade style, right, which I wasn't even fully aware of, because again, I didn't really play one. She gives you non-stop shit at the beginning of 3 when you're doing the Mars stuff, especially when you find Cerberus there, and she's like, oh, aren't these your friends? And it's like, for the 100th time, I've explained to you off screen so many times that Cerberus were the only ones giving me resources to actually fight the Reapers, and you didn't even ask why I was with them. You just assumed the worst.
They also brought Shepard back to life and essentially have him on a life debt until that's paid off. Or at least until he can break the leash, which is what he does at the end.
I do like when you break the leash with Miranda in your party and Miranda's like, fuck you, Tim.
Yep. Speaking of Miranda, I think Miranda deserves at least a solid B.
I'm going to put her in A because she is one of the characters you can definitely point to from the beginning of Mass Effect 2 and the end of Mass Effect 3. Those are two different people.
Yeah, A, I think, is the correct for her. Yeah, she's, the character growth is fantastic, whereas the reason I'm not put Kasumi in A is because she's essentially a flat character, and that's not bad. Miranda very definitely has a positive character growth.
But also,
and
A for that ass. I had to do the meme. I don't really see the appeal, but I get it. There are a lot of people who were won over by her by the fact that she has a very flattering character model.
Yeah, she does. And yeah, she starts out as a human supremacist and ends up as a essentially for the greater us, but us now includes all the civilized races, and is basically just against her father, who is just a card carrying cunt.
Yeah, there's no way to sugarcoat that one, to be honest.
Dr. Mordin Solus.
Yes. Oh, God. Who doesn't love Mordin? If ever there was a tale of a Nazi scientist that went straight.
Yeah. The very model of the scientist Solarian.
I
think the only downside was that because they couldn't get the voice actor from 2 to voice him in 3, then his singing in 3 isn't quite as good. And that's the only downside to this character that I can see out of the entire series.
Yeah, I get you, man. I think the replacement VA did a fantastic job, but there was no emulating the Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he was a stage singer as well, wasn't he?
I couldn't tell you that he was, but given his rendition of the model scientist Solarian, I have to assume that he had some training.
Yeah. The only downside to Mordin is that if you keep him alive, you don't get to experience Paddock Wicks, who's also a fun character.
Okay, sure, but, Mordin's a great character because, first of all, we find out from him that Solarians only live for about, 40 years?
Yeah, and he's 42.
Yeah. So it's one of those where he did a truly horrific thing to the Krogans, but in his mind, what he did was for the good of the galaxy. Debatable, but I think most would probably agree that at the rate Krogan could reproduce and with how bloodthirsty they were, something did have to be done. Probably not that. It would have been my first choice, but I get it from a certain point of view. But ethically, it's fucked up, and the older he gets, the more he realizes, I've done a real fucked up thing. So much so that he actively works with Rex. Not necessarily behind your back, but without your intervention. Like, he's sending messages to Rex to say, look, I'm gonna fix this.
Yeah, specifically with Rex as well. If you have Reeve, you can convince him not to fix the genophage, because it's very obvious that Reeve is just the icon of what the Solarians feared about the Krogans.
Yeah. Also, his character design is based
Rex,
off of Clint Eastwood, and that's always cool.
Yeah. He's also essentially the first and only playable Solarian, and as far as representation goes, still the best. Like, I think the only thing that comes close is the one in the multiplayer, where you just get a Solarian technician that's like pretty good in combat. Potentially better than Mordin, but who's counting? Mordin's there to be the super tech guy.
I was going to say, without Mordin, Mass Effect 2 is impossible, because it's because of him you don't get instantly zapped by the bugs. Also, his lines with your sexual partners are always funny.
Oh yes, with Garrus, he's basically saying, "Oh yes, the opposing chirality of DNA is will cause anaphylactic shock, so do not ingest."
I remember with Jack, he's like, be careful, because she's a really powerful, I almost said Psyker, and that's the wrong franchise, biotic, and she might not be able to control it when she, anyway.
Yep.
He's just a bro, man. He's a good dude.
I felt it was actually kind of interesting that Jack is essentially the only pure psyker out of all of the companions that's human.
Miranda.
Miranda's not a pure psyker. She's essentially not a vanguard. She's essentially a
Dude, she's
sentinel.
No, she's not. She only has biotic abilities, which makes her an adept.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Miranda is pure biotic, as is Samara.
I think there were two of each. Samara and Jack are the adepts, and Miranda and Thane are the sentinels, I believe.
But again, I'm disagreeing with you on Thane as well, because I don't remember Thane having tech abilities. I don't remember us having any sentinel apart from Caden.
Sure. Well, then again, sentinel back then wasn't really as well defined as it was in later games.
Okay, in Mass Effect 2, if you're a sentinel, you got tech ability. This is the main character now. You got a tech ability and you got a biotic ability.
Oh yes. That's how it was in Mass Effect 1 as well, but they didn't have the unifying factor of making tech armor or anything.
Okay, sure, but again, they had biotic abilities, not tech ones.
Yeah, so a biotic line and a tech line, and then you've got more specialized weaponry than just shotgun. So like your sniper rifle and things like that.
Okay, I'm going to agree to disagree with you on this one.
Sure. But yes, that's enough on Mordin, and not talking about modding. We have Samara.
Yeah, Samara's S tier because she's a great psyker. She has an interesting loyalty mission in which you can stab her in the back, but I don't know why you would.
I think the choice is important, and the fact that you can choose not to is also important to be able to choose, even on a full renegade.
But like, it's one of those where even a renegade, you'd have to be fucking stupid.
Yeah, and do you know what happens with Morinth in Mass Effect 3?
Yeah, nothing.
There is one additional Banshee.
Yeah, I know.
It's called Morinth.
Yeah, but I mean, that happens to Jack as well. If you don't save Jack in time, she becomes one of the fucking one-hit kill sword Cerberus people.
Okay, fair enough.
And it's really depressing, the Jack one, because at least Shepard acknowledges it, because someone in the squad will go, was that Jack? And Shepard just goes, that thing wasn't Jack anymore.
Man. Yeah, whereas with Morinth, she was already that much of a monster. It's just this gave her a form alongside it.
It's a real shame, because it would be interesting if, there shouldn't be a redemption for Morinth, because she is quite clearly the evil option. You kill Samara for no reason going down her route. But it would have been interesting if, in 3, she gave enough of a fuck about her sisters to still give you an interesting bit of backstory during that particular mission.
Yeah. Just anything. Just anything in general. So, Morinth, even though she's not an option,
Morinth
is B.
Morinth is E. Do not approach.
Morinth is F. Yeah, Morinth is F. Samara, I'm putting her in B because at the time that I encountered her, I wasn't that high on like paladin culture, and I found her rather tedious to deal with. And I also found it annoying that if you try to romance her, like the best thing she can say is another time, another life.
Yeah, I get you on that one. She is in S tier because of the reasons I've stated, and also she is an S tier MILF.
Yes. And also qualifies by the literal standard as well. She's not just a mature lady with a nice body.
Rick, I only used MILF in a legitimate fucking sense. Because unlike other people, I'm not a fucking moron. I'm sorry, I'm not going on this rant again, but come on!
Yeah, I'm popping her in B because I never ended up using her outside of the loyalty mission. Edie
as a squad mate, C. Edie as the form that we see in this tier list, C.
Yeah, I'll agree with both of those. However, Edie as banter, beyond S.
I'd put her on A, but because if Joker didn't exist, she wouldn't have fuck all for lines.
Yeah, exactly. I think A is a good place to put her because it's a combination of her full characterization, including banter, and the fact that she's, she just kind of exists as a squad mate in 3.
Oh, I never fucking used her.
No. And nobody seems to bring up the fact that that is someone else's body, essentially. Like, they acknowledge it when it's fresh, and then it just becomes Edie's body after that.
Yeah, but it's not someone's body. It was another AI.
Oh, it was Dr. Eva Correa. It was a normal human who was super augmented to such a point that she could just upload herself as an AI. She was a person.
Yeah, but she was a cunt.
Yes.
So, it's fine. Also, if you played Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, they mass-produced these fucking things. So therefore, your point's invalid.
They do afterwards, yeah. Man, all I can think of is Iron Bull going, oh yeah, but they were assholes. Tally, straight to S.
See, I could be contrarian and try to stir some shit by putting her into D, but, you know, it feels like if you put Garrus and Tali, specifically those two, in anything other than S tier, I don't think you played the same game.
Yeah. Like, I can understand maybe one of them dropping into A tier if all you ever used in Mass Effect 1 was Rex and the other one.
Yeah, because when I played Mass Effect 1, the brief amount of that game I played, I had Rex and Garrus in my party.
Yeah. For me, it was a big choice every mission between, am I bringing Garrus, Tali, or Rex, and which one am I leaving behind? Because I never used the humans. It was just pick two out of those three.
You also didn't use Liara by the sound of it.
No, I didn't use Liara. Like, between me being a Vanguard and Rex being a Vanguard, there was enough biotics to go around.
Mm-hmm, sure.
So yeah, Liara didn't get picked either. She stayed on the ship and did her science.
Yeah, Tali's adorable. She's got that great storyline. I heard from a few friends who were playing the game, or at least after the fact, because I didn't play 2 when it came out, that they were playing Renegade runs, but they still did the Paragon interrupt of hugging Tali during her loyalty mission.
Yeah, I think there's only one interrupt in 2 where it's not beneficial to do both full Paragon and full Renegade on the interrupts, and that's when you're talking to Mordin for the first time. If you leave it long enough without doing the Renegade one, then you get the Paragon one, and that's the only time when you don't just get a benefit from doing whatever interrupt is there.
I mean, I tended to avoid Renegade interrupts. I always played Paragon because that's how I like playing the game. There's a few Renegade ones where it's like, why would I not take this? Some sort of weird code of conduct that I've inflicted on myself. Like, why would I not kill the mechanic that is working on that gunship? Why would I not shoot the gas tank under the Krogan who is talking about how he's going to eat Solarian eggs while Mordin's eyes go wide?
Yeah.
There's no reason not to do these ones.
And why would you not kick the guy out of the window who you're just going to shoot in 10 seconds anyway?
That one's funny if you've got Jack with you.
I never done that one, actually. What does Jack say?
Jack's just like, wow, that was cold, and then laughs. But she also has a really adorable one with the biotic god, where if you send the biotic god into the the little Volus into the field, you go get him. He goes, I will, and he walks into the fucking room, and Jack does a little schoolgirl giggle, which is something I've not heard her do in the entire game, and then followed by, that was mean.
Yeah, apparently there was an option in early development for Tali not to find her father's body in her super loyalty mission in 3.
Okay.
Sorry. So the loyalty mission in 2, that isn't it? Yeah, so you find her father's body in that, and then she gets exiled or exonerated. Yeah, if you don't find her father's body, then it lets you be creative with the result without actually lying.
Yeah, because you don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
But that's still lying, Rick.
Yeah, and then they move the body to right at the beginning so you can't get past it without seeing it. But the voice lines are still in the game for not having found the body. But yes, Tali I'm putting in S because unlike Ash, who just nominally stops being as much of an asshole to other races, Tali is like the major proponent of Geth reconciliation entirely due to the fact that you stopped her and Legion slapping each other's shit.
Yeah.
Plus she's adorable. Rex.
I'm putting him in B because I like the guy, I really do, and seeing him in 2 is great. Having him in your party for the Citadel DLC is the most fun ever. However, because I didn't play 1, that's my only exposure to him.
Sure. Plus, running into him in 2 and him giving, out of everybody, even more warm than Garrus, who, okay, he's running on 72 hours without sleep, who just gives a good to see you too, and Tali, who's just openly hostile because you're with Cerberus and only doesn't join you because you're with Cerberus and she's not been convinced yet. Rex just opens with, Shepard, my friend!
You know what? I completely forgot about that interaction right at the beginning of the game with Tali.
Yeah. Doesn't stop me putting her in S, but yeah, she doesn't want to join you straight away, and for good reason. You're flanked by 2 Cerberus cronies, and you have no choice at this point. You can't just recruit someone first.
And also, up until 2 minutes ago, she thought you were dead.
Yeah. She thought you were dead, and she thought the the little mini squad of Cerberus people were Cerberus people come to do Cerberus shit, as Cerberus people are want to do. Yeah, she needs time to process her thoughts.
Well, considering you have to argue, I believe, with at least Miranda, maybe not so much Jacob, he just kind of stands there and watches, but you have to argue with Miranda not to take Grebor. I don't know his name, I've forgotten, but he's super fucked up, the Quarian that they went to save.
Yeah, I know who you mean. It is something like Grebor.
Yeah, but it's not Grebor. It's close, but it's not that.
Globgor.
I'm going to sound super racist towards the Quarians, a race that don't exist. Their names are weird, okay? They've always got a letter, an apostrophe, and then more letters.
Yeah.
Like fucking Yashtolo Rule, It's silly.
Oh, we've got her in the next waifu squad tier list.
Do we? Cool.
Yeah, we do. It's Sarah.
Oh, right. I didn't know she was on there. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you meant the Dragon Age thing. Right, cool. I thought you meant about the other thing. I thought you meant the other thing we were talking about today.
Yeah. The other BioWare tier list we're going to be doing at some point in the future. Y'shtola is on there as Sarah, and the finale is Zaid.
I really want to put him in S, but I can't quite manage it. He's going to go in A because the character is just fun. He is a mercenary to his core. Depending on how you do his loyalty mission, which is also his recruitment mission, so it's kind of weird, but whatever. You can actually make him less mercantile and give a shit more about the universe, which is great. Also, he has a claw game addiction, which is fucking funny.
That is cute. Yeah. I think he's also got like a couple of weapons that are they were normal weapons in Mass Effect 1, but like because they've become antiquated by the time Mass Effect 2 comes around, he's like the only one with that one, and that's the reason why you can buy it as DLC.
Okay.
The Matuk rifle, which it's essentially a sniper that's not a sniper. I think it's like an auto rifle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an auto rifle, but it's not an auto rifle in the fact that it's not an automatic, it's single shot.
Yeah, it's like a scout rifle from Destiny.
Yeah, sort of, but scout rifles have enough zoom on them that it's any gun in a game, really. Ignore me.
Yep. Any gun in a gun game. I don't rate him quite so highly.
That's fair.
But I think best I can give him is B.
You do what you think is best, man. At the end of the day, he is still a DLC character in that he doesn't get that much treatment.
Yeah, he's a DLC character. He shares a slot, essentially, with Grunt in that he is the soldier, well, the other soldier.
He's got a bit more of uniqueness to him in the sense that he has inferno grenades in his kit, which means he can set anyone on fire really easily. So that was always fun as well.
Yeah. I think everybody has at least some way to deal with a type of health bar, whether it be the tech health from like Mordin's Inferno, like anything fire, like Mordin's got the flaming rounds or whatever, or whether it be like the electric stuff to deal with shields. So yeah, his way is using Inferno grenades.
I will say this as well. It hit me really hard when the voice actor died, despite the fact he was old anyway, because it just came a bit out of the blue. And the only reason I knew about it is because I was playing Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, and they were like, we've got a Zaid event. And it's like, why is this a thing?
Yeah, and he was also your housecarl in Awakening.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Basically the one who, like, prepares the Grey Warden joining for when you're in Dragon Age Awakening.
Okay, sure. He was a really nothing character, and I don't even remember him having the same voice. I don't remember what he sounds like, but now I'm like, well, obviously he must sound like Zaid, but you know. Yeah,
some lines sound like Zaid and some lines are very flat because it sounds like he record. It's the Halcyon problem. He recorded different lines of the same conversation on different days.
Yeah. Halcyon's real bad because there was clearly lines recorded in his home because it was pandemic times.
Yeah.
Not to shit on the voice actor, you could just tell, that's all.
Yeah, you could tell by the differing qualities of recording and different, like, feel of voice line, even though it was, like, obviously the next line to be said in that conversation.
It was real glaring. We spoke about this in the Baldur's Gate podcast, so if you want to hear us talk about it in detail, just go back it might be a year's worth of episodes when this comes out, we don't know.
Yeah, like part 2 is most likely out by now. But yes, I guess that's about it. So for our usual wind down,
don't really have that for this, do we?
Well, kinda. But like, do you have a Beyond S pick?
Yeah, Morinth.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. Mine would likely be Garrus because, even though, like, the thing that made me stop wanting to play Mass Effect 3 was on my really shitty shit Shepherd file where everything went wrong. When Garrus died, I just couldn't do the finale.
Sorry, did you say Super S?
No, yeah, Beyond S.
I thought you said Super F. That's why I said Morinth. I obviously wouldn't put Morinth in that category.
Oh, sure. I also autocorrected it to Samara, so...
Oh, fucking whatever.
I auto-corrected it to Samara. Yeah, Super S. I put Garrison Super S.
Well, Super S would be Jack because she's Bae. Not fucking... I like Samara, but the whole fucking I'm going to go through all this trouble and now I'm going to kill myself while the universe is exploding really soured her a bit for me.
Yeah.
In that...
That's part of why I put her in B as well.
First of all, it's very easy to convince her not to because she quickly realises it's a bit of a silly moment. And yes, I understand that if emotions are high, you might think to do something extreme. But up until that point, Samara was composed and calm.
Yeah. And it feels like the reason she's doing it is because she's essentially in conflict with her own take on the code. But like the problem with the code is that it's so long that there's always intentional wiggle room for things.
No, the problem is the writers got fucking lazy and decided they wanted a last minute bit of fucking emotion in this otherwise fine bit of content. That's what actually happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Let's say goodbye, Rick.
Yep. If you like the video, you've got the comment section down below on YouTube, and if you listen via one of the many audio platforms, you can instead send us an email, which will go to
nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. Once again, that is nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com.
Yep, if you made it this far, as always, you are our favourite people. It's going to be a goodbye from me.
Bye, guys.